Tom, a.k.a. Gerion, here for Star Frontiers Gamer. Today is Fanzine Friday, number 20. That means we are doing Star Frontiersman number 20. So let's start with the cover. Not the best Star Frontiers cover. The artwork here is a little, it's just not up to the usual standards. However, this is, we've got a Yazarian, a Versk, and a Dralosite all on the cover. Points for that. The issue was, the editor was William Douglas, and this is one of the redacted issues. What that means is after the 2018 Evil Hat trademark grab, Wizards of the Coast put all of the old Star Frontiers content up on Drive-Thru because they're now selling it. They don't want to compete with the free versions that different fan sites had been allowed to offer. So the digitally remastered materials that had been done by Bill Logan were required to come down. There was another fan site that had optical scans of all the original materials. Those were ordered down. And there had been some Dragon magazines reprinted in the Star Frontiersman. And Wizards of the Coast ordered those be removed as well. So this was one of the redacted ones. So if you downloaded your copy before 2018, you have all the original content that was redacted. And so that's why you might be flipping through this magazine and you might go, wait a minute, there's pages missing. Basically, there are two articles missing. One is on the Saurians. They had a whole character races section with 4 character races, 3 of them by fans. The Saurians was just a reprint of the original Dragon magazine article, just to put it back in print. And then the Whole Earth Ecology article was reprinted in here. That was from Dragon magazine as well. It's one of my more favorite articles. The ideas in it are what I love, the whole approach. And that approach from the Whole Earth Ecology is the same approach you're going to see in this particular issue of the magazine, because we get a whole adventure called Return to Archangel. And Ben Gorman, who wrote that, uses the Whole Earth Ecology approach. He doesn't just write an adventure. He wrote an adventure, he created the planet. And he did the system brief. So you get the whole star system, you get the planet, you get about 12 or 16 creatures that he created just for this adventure. You get a playable alien race. Now, he wrote 8 paragraphs covering how to play this alien race. I think it should just be an NPC race. It's a little problematic. So let's just actually jump right into that. Turn to Archangel. Editor's note. This article is a good example of putting together a planetary brief, new creature, new races, and wrapping it into an adventure. Referee can use this as a great stepping stone to an adventure for players. Yes, this Return to Archangel actually could be, if you wanted to have the players visit one of the plague planets that was introduced in Zebulon's Guide that never existed in the original setting. This could be that. This planet could be that. So you've got the whole review of the planets, the population, scenario background, what's going on for the game master. Section Gamma, orbit of Archangel. This is just a breakdown of the adventure, forced landing, planetary surface. Now, I remember kibitzing with Ben Gorman, Rolo, on starfrontiers.us about this adventure. He worked on this, and this was going in the Star Frontiersman. And I was no longer working with the Star Frontiersman. And but he was asking me for advice, and so I would review his material. I'd throw out ideas. I give him feedback, and I believe I did this map. There's no credit for that here, but I think this was at the time that I got Campaign Cartographer, and I really wasn't that good with it. So I'm surprised I actually squeaked out like a usable map. But so this, this is something that I have my fingerprints on in this particular issue of the Star Frontiersman. They're not deeply impressed in the mud fingerprints, but they're light. They're there. So different encounters, and let's just get down to the real gem. I love it when somebody does this. Here's an encounter table. It's a D100 encounter table. But there's only about looks like 16, 20 entries on there. But he gives you an encounter table. And then we've got, a good dozen or more of creatures that he's designed. Some artwork tells you where the inspiration for them came. Let's stop here on Cerebus, Cebus. These Cebus are a small omnivore primate that live in the forest. This is the artwork. He specifies here that the picture of primate-like figure from page 8 of Gamma Dawn for inspiration. Gamma Dawn, for those who don't know, was an adaptation of the Star Frontiers rules, I believe written by Bill Logan, for playing Gamma World, but with Star Frontiers rules. So no longer available on the web. It was one of the casualties from the 2018 Evil Hat trademark grab affair. Got taken down. But the Cebus is a small omnivore, and it says here, the last line in the description says they can be domesticated and trained. Small quibble with the word domesticated. What he should have said was they can be tamed, not domesticated. Domesticated actually involves a whole breeding program where you breed out the unfavorable qualities, aggression, unfavorable qualities in the creature. And then you get a domesticated animal. This creature very much can be an adventure pet. They can be tamed. The environmentalist is studying the environment to see what happened. He's doing his ecological survey. He could befriend one of these and tame them, and then they could become an adventure pet that accompany the party in the future. So that, I think, is interesting. And feral humans. There are feral humans on this planet. They are reavers from Firefly. It says here, feral humans are nothing more than roving gangs of insane, cannibalistic, wild humans that have no moral compass and in the least have no moral compass in the least and very limited intelligence. They rob, rape, and kill without remorse whenever they have a chance. It's not uncommon for them to consume the bodies of those they kill. They are reavers. And so they are the remnants of the former population that has gone mad. And so you see why I specify this could be the plague planet. So I definitely, then there's feral rats, the mantid. The mantid was inspired by, where's his note here? Art on page 32 of Gamma Dawn for inspiration for these creatures. So they're a bipedal, upright sort of mantis with a very long neck. The verse should relate to them well. And then we get down to one of the real gems here. Ben worked on this race quite a bit, and I always liked it. It was available in the starfrontiers.us forums. I always liked it. There was better artwork in the forums than they used here in the magazine. I don't know why they used this artwork, but the illustration that's buried somewhere in the forums was 20 times better. So this is a great alien race with no hands. It's got some psionic ability for communication. There's society and customs to them. And then he put in, I don't know, like 6 paragraphs here on playing the Myzine. I don't think they should be played by a player. I think they should be an NPC species. And again, this is something that could end up accompanying the player characters and becoming an adventure companion. Not a pet like that Cebus, but an actual adventure companion with some skills that it can bring to the table. But it does have some limitations. But I thought this was brilliant. This was a very alien species. It was not an anthropomorphic dog or cat in space. It felt alien. It's very alien. It's got behavior that's kind of alien. And I just thought this was a great creation, and I've absolutely loved it. One of my favorite alien species introduced in the magazines all time, just because it's so alien. You get installation map. You get the map of the ruins of Gideon. The Vizhai Incident. This is a piece of fiction by Eric Johnson. It centers on the East Indiaman class freighter. We get a diagram of one, kind of nice. There's some Yazarian art here. I like this one better than the other one. I like the goggles. Presentation of the goggles, very chimpanzee-like face, not a human-like face with the Yazarians. I know I've been guilty of drawing some human-like faces on Yazarians in the past. And so fairly long story. I did not reread it for this go through of the magazine. So I'm not going to comment on it other than Eric Johnson, longtime contributor to the magazines, great guy. I'm guessing it's probably a reasonably good piece of frontier fiction. Now, digging into the character races, as I said before, the Saurians were in here and then removed. This here is the Gedyan, if I'm pronouncing it correct. And you can see that it is an anthropomorphic cat in space. And normally I kind of dump on these. This is by Victor Gildarubio. However, Victor has done something smart with this that actually makes me kind of like it. And what he's done is he took that whole Earth ecology and he didn't just do a 2-page write-up of the species that has no rooting in the frontier anywhere. He has done the system brief, he's done the planet, and he's done a write-up on the planet. And so, again, we're getting a little bit of that whole Earth ecology approach. No creatures, that's okay, but we do have a table of the natural resources that are mined on this planet. So that's kind of cool. So if your freighter visits there, this is, you'd be able to load up with this type of cargo, would be readily available. So I like that. And I also like, if you go back to the artwork here, you can see she's got 2 saber-toothed tiger kind of fangs coming out of her mouth. I've always liked saber-toothed tigers. So if I was going to use any of the anthropomorphic cat species that have been introduced to the frontier, and there's more than one, I would use this one because it comes with the system and a planet. And, the planets are talked about in that system. So you've got more information to build from. And I just like that sort of approach. So scrolling down, there is a little bit of a review here for Extreme Future, 2nd edition, which is on drive-thru. I have never looked at 2nd edition, so I can't endorse it. I can't thumbs up, thumbs down. You can check it out. It looks very Star Frontiers-y-ish, and no surprise that maybe that's probably why they reviewed it here, is because it's a good fit for Star Frontiers. Next up, we get the Chilljak. The Chilljak, very bug-looking alien species, tool user, looks like. And then we get the Thren. They are a humanoid with some sort of ridge going over the top of their head like a mohawk and then down to their nose. So again, I'm not always a fan of the let's just introduce a new species. I like them to have a star system. I like them to have a planet. I like them to have a whole Earth ecology approach. Where do they exist in the setting? Maybe you don't pick the star because you're just let the game masters pick where that star is going to be. That's okay, but you've designed the system, you've given more, you've provided a game master, you provided a player with more material to base running their character off if they chose that species. Next up, we get a city block generator. Let's click on it. And it takes you to this page, which still works. And it gives you some city blocks here with mechanic, pawn shop, candle shop, photographer, game store. I want to throw a frag grenade inside the Warhammer store. No, I don't. Not real. It's not a real threat. It's just me joking around. I hate the prices at the Warhammer store, but I do shop there for paints and for bases. I just hate so many things that I hate about the Warhammer. So, all right, this city block generator still works. You can link to it. It's mithralandmages.com. It's a resource if you want to use that link to generate city blocks for your game on the fly. That'll help. Next up, it's D100 and City Encounters by Darren Patton. Darren Patton is a longstanding frontiersman. And I've seen his name in the Lost Internet archives for fan sites that were created in the very beginning. I saw his name on some of that content, that lost content, going way back. So he's been around a long time. And this is a full D100 table of city encounters. Let's just pick a few out. 3 land fleet soldiers are on leave and even drunk. They're even drunker than you are. Oh no, so wait a minute. That was 13. Number 12 is 3 space fleet sailors are on shore leave and they're very drunk. 3 land fleet soldiers are on leave and even drunker. And this reminds me of a story my father once told me about when he was drafted and did his 4-year tour in the Air Force right out of high school. And he was out in Spokane, Washington. And they sent him and 3 other guys up to, I think, Seattle for some big parade, for the VFW or whatever. And there was a lot of military in town. There was a couple of ships in town. So there were sailors and Marines in town. And, so they did the parade, the 2 flags and the guys with the guns. And so they did the parade. And, they've got the rest of the day off. So, of course, what are they going to do? They're young guys. They pub crawl. And they've been, going around having, seeing the sights and hitting some bars. And they get into a bar. And it's just the 4 of them. And there's like about 12 townies. And all of a sudden, one of the townies starts running his mouth. And he's like, MF, military, baby killers. He starts with that crap. And my dad had never been to Vietnam. So he'd never killed any babies. So, but it's 12 of them. And the 4 Air Force guys, and my father's like 120 pounds at the time. And so they stand up, the 12 townies stand up. It's obvious that it's game on. Well, across the street at a taco stand was a Marine, dress uniform. And he saw this and he came running, he left his tacos, came running across the street, ran in the bar, ran through the townies, got in the middle of the 4 airmen and pulled his belt off and wrapped it around his hand. And I said to my dad, I says, "What'd you do?" He just took my belt off and wrapped it around my hand. So now it's 5-12. And nobody's froggy to jump at this point. Well, in the door walk 3 sailors, 3, in the whites with the bell bottoms and the roll hat. And one of them is really drunk, and he's being carried by his two friends, more or less. They're helping him walk. And so they come walking in, and they're standing in the doorway, and they realize what's about to go down. And the drunk guy goes, "All right, it's been a long time since I've been in a good fight." So now it's 8-12, and the townies decided that they'd rather go drink at a different bar. And so all these servicemen, buying rounds for each other, it's one of the stories I got from my father from his Vietnam era days. And I just always thought that was one of the coolest stories. I love the Marine just running in and doesn't say anything, just wraps his belt around his hand. He's like ready for action. And then the drunk sailor going, "All right, it's been a long time since I've been in a good fight." So it has nothing to do with Star Frontiers. Just reminded by reading these little entries here. Apologize for that, but I thought it was a good story. So let's pick one more off of this list. Number 100. An ice cream truck drives by, allowing the PCs a nice treat. Well, isn't that special? I don't know what I would do with that. It's not even a proper side quest. Maybe it is if they want to get their money back. I don't know. Then we get to Creatures of the Frontier. I have 2 issues with this article. Both of them are nitpicky. And I'm actually guilty of the first issue myself. So let's just, the Warriors of White Light are the module, the bundled module that's in the Nighthawks box set. In Warriors of White Light, it specifies in the brief for the White Light system and for the planet Clarion that there are no higher life forms on Clarion aside from like lichens and moss. Okay, but here we have a whole article, Creatures of the Frontier in the Wilds of White Light, by Victor Gildarubio, no less. So what do we do with that? You have all these creatures from the White Light system from planet Clarion. Well, first off, I'm guilty of this very thing. You overlook that detail. You didn't read it. Maybe you forgot it. And so years later, you're creating creatures. You say, let's create one for Gran Quivera, create one for Morgane's World, create one for Pale, for Lako, for Clarion. And so slowly but surely, a menagerie of creatures are built up that are specified as fan canon, being part of the Clarion ecosystem. What do you do with that? How do you justify that? How do you fix that? Well, if you look at these creature illustrations, we've got the marsh bat, the broom bee. Marsh bat looks like an earth bat, a Terran bat. The broom bee looks like some sort of stork or heron here from Earth. The crab looks like a Terran crab. This briar cat looks like a lynx. And the silver heart, all right, it's a little different. It's some sort of deer with just one horn, i.e. like a unicorn, but it's called the silver heart. And a plain snake. The kelp adder is a snake eel that swims. So these creatures look like Earth creatures. The way I handle that is I just specify that when the human colonists colonized Clarion, they brought creatures from their native ecosystem. So if you go with the canon statement that Earth does not exist in the Star Frontier setting, that humans evolved, and it was, coevolution, well, then why not bats co-evolved? And they just came with humanity, colonizing Clarion and Minotaur and all the planets that the humans colonized in the setting. That's how I do it. So the statement in White Light that says no higher life forms than lichens and moss is true up to the point that humanity colonized the planet. Because I like having a monster manual to work with. And in fact, when I looked through this, when I read this the very first time, I actually came up with ideas. I have an ecological challenge involving this creature, and so that would be a task where somebody's got environmental skill. They're the scientists of the party. They've been hired to figure out what's going on, what's going on, why is this problem, and so that and why not? Because these are introduced creatures, so problems could arise. There are unforeseen circumstances, unintended consequences by introducing creatures to the environment. So I definitely like this article. Every single creature in here is native to Clarion. And my second nitpick is half of these stat blocks say Clarion and half say Gollywog. Look right here, Briarcat, native world Gollywog. Gollywog is them's fighting words. It's the pejorative word used by other people from other planets, other colonies in the frontier, to label citizens of Clarion. It's them's fighting words. And I remember Richard Rose played in one of my online games, and his character, who was a Royal Marine, was a Dralocyte, but he did a character portrait with Dralocytes wearing armor, but it's like he wrote or painted on his armor, it's Clarion, not Gollywog, frag hole. I always loved that. I thought that was worth an extra EXP. Just for that. I just thought that was a little piece of, I'm going to own this piece of setting fluff. And he did. He did it with just his character portrait and an occasional comment in game. So I liked Richard doing that. And that's how I would handle this. I like having all these things, all this fan canon that's been introduced. One more detail that I would bring to your attention. Let's go to the Silver Heart. Same artwork, same name. This creature is in another creature article. I believe it's in the Star Frontiersman. I think we're probably going to get to it in one or two issues. But it's detailed as being from another planet. How I handle that, I say yes. It was imported to the other planet. So we do know that the monarchy on Clarion has been there for 700 or 900 years. It's got a history that long. So that means that these creatures were introduced and adapted to the Clarion environment about 1,000 years ago. So you might as well pretty much treat them as native to the planet now. They're in the wild. They do their own thing. So that's how I handle it. The Silver Heart just got imported to another planet. That's how I handle that. Or it was native to that other planet and imported to Clarion because Clarion had no higher life forms above lichen and moss. And a great piece of artwork here called The Patrol by J.A. Davis. Nice sketch. I kind of like that. I mean, it makes you want to look in there, look for something like a little tripwire landmine, snake in the grass, something along those lines. I've never spotted anything, but I just like this piece of artwork. Next up is equipment. And to start the equipment, we've got the Cardice pistol by Ben Gorman. And Cardice stands for carbon dioxide ice pistol. It's a plastic and ceramic design, lending its light weight, even though the gun is bulkier and fatter than most other small arms. It's like a beam weapon. It's like a ray gun. It shoots a ray of cold that kind of freezes around the target and immobilizes them. I don't know if I'm down with this as a gun concept. So it might not be the gun for my particular game. In fact, I think that I would use this as a piece of left behind technology in the ruins of Gideon for the Return to Archangel thing. That, it's a technology unknown to the frontier. You find it there. There's probably not many moving parts. So it would be easy to service, even though it's probably been sitting for decades. It would be easy to service by a technician and get it up and running, and it could be used. And so you could use this to immobilize, like while on Gideon, to immobilize one of those feral humans, or more immobilize one of the cebus there, the primate that lives in the forest, that dog-faced primate. So, it's, I don't know if I would use it, but if I did use it, I would probably say, boom, it's left behind technology in the ruins of Gideon on Archangel. That's how I would introduce that to my game. Next up, so here's an illustration for it, very big, bulky pistol. Next up is the taser rifle. Now, this has an interesting history because it was created by Pierre Savoy. Hello, Pierre. I know you're out there. And the original article was by Frank Menser, no less, and it was published in the RPGA Network magazine, Polyhedron number 19. It was the item design contest results. It was a taser rifle for Star Frontiers. So, yeah, taser weapons exist in the real world. I'm really down with this, and I love that it's now, by being put in the magazine, it's available again. Technically, it's probably should have been removed along with all the other reprinted content. But this is more of a digitally remastering of the content that was in the other. So it doesn't really violate the thing. And plus, it was designed by Pierre Savoy. So he must have some say on it since it's his creation. So I don't think that it's a problem, but technically, it probably should have been removed, same as the Saurians and Whole Earth Ecology articles. But there you go. Gaming resources. This is Trade Goods and Commodities of the Frontier, Part 2 by Alan Troussel. Now, I counted it up because this guy went nuts with this. 42 of these trade good articles. These are ores and crystals and metals that are mined. And so if you're looking for a cargo with your ship, you would be collecting metric tons of this cargo. And so let's just look at one of these items, because he wrote 42. If I'd been writing the article, I probably would have stopped at like 12 or 16. 40 freaking 2 of these sci-fi metals and ores. So let's just look at one because it's in the Gollywog. Clarion, people. It's Clarion. It's byzanium, a rare metallic element with properties similar to thallium. It's found in the White Light System, asteroids, and on Clarion, and occasionally elsewhere as the ore benzonite. Its primary use is in various infrared optics, as it performs similarly to thallium with less toxicity. Benzonite ore can be refined at the rate of 2,000 metric tons of ore to 1 ton of refined metal. The price is for the ore is 20 credits per metric ton, and 30,000 credits. That's for the ore. The metal is 30,000 credits per metric ton. I like that he's priced it out by the metric ton. I just think that more than 20 credits worth of SEUs are used in mining a metric ton of the ore. I got a feeling. So I don't know about that price. But yeah, sure, 30,000 credits per metric ton for the metal, for the refined metal. So this is a great resource. The only thing it really needed was just a table, of the ores and the refined materials. But again, it's a great resource, and any half decent DM could actually work up a supplementary table to add to the tables in Nighthawks for buying and selling and trading and moving of ore. So this was definitely interesting. Next up, we get the spaceships, and this is the Razor and Starhawk class assault scouts by Richard Rose, aka Shadow Shack. And since he wrote it, I can tell you these are tricked out to the nines. Everything you need to use this ship is provided for you. Starting here with the Starhawk class, what differentiates it from a regular assault scout? Well, glad you asked. That would be the weapons. And so the weapons here are a pod laser, an assault rocket with one assault rocket. So it's the assault rocket launcher loaded with only one rocket, and a laser battery. So you have a laser heavy design. He provides you with a comprehensive list of computer programs for that ship. We get the Razor class assault scout, and this is the same as a standard assault scout, except it has 4 assault rockets instead of 3. So it's got the heavy punch. It can go 4 turns of firing off that heavy punching assault rocket. And again, he's provided you, and then we're talking write-up and deck plans, and accidentally they've included deck plans for the Inora Heavy Fighter. And so what that tells me is that they probably went to Richard and said, hey, do you mind if we print your deck plans that you published in the deck plan project, or I think he probably published it in the deck plan project at starfrontiers.us. And he said, sure. And so they just grabbed the images, and part of this image was the Inora Heavy Fighter deck plan. And but there's no write-up for that. So you will have to track that down in the starfrontiers.us. Just put in the search field Inora Heavy Fighter. I think you'll find it eventually, or go to the deck plan project and then type that in the search field there, which will just limit it to that project. So great addition. I mean, without even looking at it, I can tell you this is thorough. It's like having a tech manual. Those pages, just print them off, staple them together, call it a tech manual. You're done. Thoughts on the Frontier. This is by, we don't know who this is by. So the editors found this content. They were not able to locate the original author. They put a note here. I'm not sure who the author was, so please email me if it's you, and I will make sure you are credited. But we don't know who the author is, and there is no prime directive. It's an examination of how the Frontier Society classifies non-intelligent, low-order animals, high-order animals, sapient, low-order sapient, high-order sapient, and then class 3, class 2, class 1. And then we get into a new article called Quick Fungus, where it came from and where it's going, by Andrew Campbell. I just want to point out, Quick Fungus is a plant, hazardous plant in the Volturnus campaign, which spans 3 modules. It also turns up in Villains of Volturnus, the Endless Quest book, the Star Frontiers Endless Quest book that TSR put out. So this is an interesting discussion of Quick Fungus. And, just think, what would happen if Quick Fungus, accidentally, a sample of it got brought, tracked on it, like here in Maine. There are water species that are invasive, and they get into a lake or a pond, and it's almost impossible to get rid of them. So there are regulations about putting your boat in the water, taking it out, and inspecting it, and making sure all the weeds are removed, so that you don't transport that plant from one lake to another. They want to limit the spread as much as possible, because it's expensive to abate this invasive species. So imagine Quick Fungus getting tracked onto a starship and transported to, say, New Pale. New Pale's got a warm environment, although warm and moist, because it's swamps and jungles and dinosaur-like creatures. But Quick Fungus, imagine the problem, because The other thing about New Pale is it's a breadbasket for the frontier. It produces a lot of food that is exported around the frontier, keeping people fed. So this invasive species gets brought to New Pale. You've got an ecological disaster going on. Nothing there, just begin to grow and grow and grow and spread. And the only thing you can do is break out the flamethrowers. So so I like this examination of the quick fungus, and just consider what would happen if it managed to get onto a spaceship and was transported throughout the frontier. Or imagine if a Sathar agent took a sample across the frontier and released it. That could be a Sathar plot for your game. The next up, we get a article on interstellar travel by Tim Costello. It examines interstellar travel within the frontier. And then we get this really fascinating article on the legend of Earth. Now, in the canon statements of the frontier, we are told that humans evolved and they're not the humans of Earth. So it's coevolution. Yeah, the different galaxy, humans evolved. And, it's almost the Star Wars in a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, type of thing. Apparently coevolution. So there's an interesting discussion here about scientific study of Earth within the frontier, how it's treated. This legend of Earth is treated like the legend of Atlantis. The parallel evolution is considered by the academia of the frontier to be law of the land. You also have theories of lost colonization and alien transplantation. And then he wraps it up with a referees only, which is basically what we did in our campaign is this. And so he endorses this idea that, yes, Earth is out there, but they don't believe it's out there in the frontier. It's a legend. It's, and he explains that. And I thought that was an interesting take because I like having Earth exist in the setting. I'm not into the parallel evolution. I like having Earth exist in the setting and that humans came to the frontier from Earth. So this is an interesting twist on something I like, as far as how I like to modify the setting. And then last up, we get classifieds. Again, there's no Gorko and Torita here, but again, more classifieds. So I actually just flew right by this. This here is a small little paragraph. It was submitted by Larry Moore. His handle is Woot. It's Sathar Ship Walkthru. What happens when you click on this link is you go to this YouTube, it's playing a heavy metal song, and it's a 3D. Let's pause that. Darksider Productions presents Star Frontier's Doom 3 style. It's a walkthrough of a Sathar ship. And when you get down to the end, and he actually specifies here, and he says this map is based on the Star Frontiers module Face of the Enemy from TSR Hobbies. And the song is Nameless by Disavowed. So if you're into heavy metal, you might like this. But if you just want a Doom, like a Doom style walkthrough, very dark, there's no shooting in here. You get to this point where you're looking up and you see Sathar ships moving. And these are 3D renders of the Sathar carrier from Face of the Enemy. So you get a bunch of them moving around. And it looks like some laser fire going on. So again, this is rather interesting. But more than that, if you click on, the guy's name is Spider. He's got some other 3D walkthroughs that might be of interest to you, although he definitely seems to be a fan of heavy metal. So that may or may not be your cup of tea, but since Star Frontier, if you're listening to this, Star Frontiers is your cup of tea, you might be interested in some of these other 3D spaceship walkthrough kind of things. So kind of cool. and it was easy to miss in the magazine, and I totally flew by it, and at the last minute remembered it. So before I do my little sign out, that was the 3D render walkthrough. It's up on YouTube. It's still there. Go check it out. So this is Tom for Star Frontiers Gamer, and that was Star Frontiersman number 20. I want to thank you for watching the video. I want to thank my subscribers. You guys are great, and I will see you in the frontier.